Every goal you hold in your heart comes with a price tag, not a price in money, but a price in discipline, sacrifice, patience, and unwavering commitment. Life doesn't hand out achievements for free. It asks, what are you willing to give in exchange for the person you want to become? And your answer writes the story of your destiny. You see, dreams are beautiful things, but dreams alone are cheap. They cost nothing to imagine, nothing to hope for, nothing to talk about. But the moment you decide to pursue them, the bill arrives. Suddenly, the dream demands your early mornings, your late nights, your focus, your energy, your courage. It asks for consistency when you feel tired, resilience when the world says no, and determination when fear whispers quit. People often want the result without the responsibility. They want the trophy without the training. They want the freedom without the discipline. But life doesn't work that way. Life is a master. Accountant, everything must be paid for. If you want a strong mind, you must pay with learning. If you want wealth, you must pay with skill and service. If you want success, you must pay with the boldness to act, even when no one applauds. And the price is always due up front. You don't pay after you succeed, you pay before the opportunity appears. You study before the promotion. You practice before the breakthrough. You prepare before the door opens. That's why most people never reach their goals. They want to see the result before they make the investment. Here's the secret. Once you decide to pay the price, life becomes predictable. Not always easy, not always quick, but predictable. Commitment creates momentum. Momentum creates progress. And progress rewrites your identity, turning I hope into I can, and I can into watch me. But remember this, the price tag on every goal is not punishment, it's privilege. The struggle shapes your character. The discipline shapes your habits. The sacrifice shapes your strength. You don't just achieve a goal, you become someone capable of achieving far greater goals. So ask yourself today, what price are you willing to pay? Are you willing to let go of distractions? Are you willing to replace excuses with effort? Are you willing to pay with patience, persistence, and personal growth? Because every goal asks the same question, what is this worth to you? And the moment your actions answer louder than your words, life steps aside and says, go ahead. It's yours. Every goal you hold, every dream that keeps you awake at night, and every vision that stirs something powerful inside you, each of them carries a price. This is one of the great truths life teaches anyone who goes after something meaningful. Nothing worth achieving is ever free. Not success, not skill, not mastery, not transformation. Everything demands a payment. And the currency is your time, your effort, your discipline, and your willingness to evolve. The world is full of people who want something for nothing. They want excellence without practice, confidence without struggle, wealth without development, respect without responsibility. And one of the simplest, most unbreakable principles is that reward follows effort. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but always. When you set a goal, you are making a deal with your future. You are essentially saying, I want this outcome, and I am willing to become the person capable of earning it. This is where the cost enters. The moment you choose a goal, life begins to measure you not by your intentions, not by your excitement, not by your words, but by what you are willing to invest. If your goal is a strong body, the cost is discipline in your habits, moving when you don't feel like moving, choosing nourishment over temptation, and showing up consistently regardless of mood. If your goal is financial independence, the cost comes in the form of learning, controlling your impulses, developing skills, and making decisions that trade short-term pleasure for long-term stability. If your goal is inner peace, the price includes letting go of the past, practicing awareness, releasing unnecessary battles, and training your mind to focus on what matters. Every dream has its own currency, and the greater the dream, the higher the cost. But here's the misunderstanding many people hold. They think the price is a punishment. They believe the challenges are barriers meant to stop them. They interpret the struggle as a sign that the goal wasn't meant for them, when the truth is the exact opposite. The cost is not there to push you away. It's there to prepare you. It shapes you into someone who can handle the weight of your dream once it arrives. Think about it. If goals required nothing from you, you would gain everything too quickly and lose everything just as fast. Ease never builds capacity. Comfort never builds character. Growth never comes without stretching beyond who you were yesterday. It is the process that strengthens you, not the finish line. Every athlete pays in sweat before they win in stadiums. Every leader pays in quiet decisions before they gain influence. Every creator pays in solitude before the world sees their work. Every successful person pays in self-discipline before anyone calls them lucky. So the real question isn't, do you want the goal? Almost everyone does. The real question is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to trade hours of distraction for hours of focus? Are you willing to replace excuses with action? Are you willing to endure days where nothing seems to be happening? Are you willing to continue when no one applauds, supports, or even notices you? Because the price is not always visible. Sometimes it's invisible work done in silence. Sometimes it's the emotional cost of overcoming doubt. Sometimes it's the mental cost of pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. Sometimes it's the spiritual cost of staying faithful to your vision when everything around you tells you to quit. The price is not paid in a single day. It is paid in repeated daily decisions, small acts of alignment with the person you want to become. And that's why people who succeed are not extraordinary, they are consistent. They decide again and again that the goal is worth more than the excuses. The moment you accept that everything valuable has a cost, you stop resisting the process. You stop negotiating with your responsibilities. You stop wishing the journey were easier and instead become stronger for the journey. And here is the beautiful truth. Once you pay the price, the reward becomes inevitable. Not instantly, not magically, but eventually. Because life honors effort. Life rewards persistence. Life responds to those who refuse to give up. Every goal has a cost. Every dream requires payment. But what you receive in return is far more valuable than what you give. You don't just achieve something, you become someone. And that transformation is worth every minute, every sacrifice, and every ounce of effort you invest. Dreams are effortless. They require no investment, no sacrifice, no sweat. Anyone can sit back, close their eyes, and imagine a better life. It costs nothing to picture success. Nothing to say, one day I'll do it. Nothing to talk about goals with friends. Dreams are free because imagination doesn't demand anything from you. But discipline is expensive, and that is precisely why so few people rise beyond their wishes and turn their visions into reality. The difference between the dreamer and the achiever is not desire. It is discipline. Wanting something doesn't make it yours. Working for it does. Dreams live in your mind. Discipline brings them into the world. The dream whispers, wouldn't it be nice? Discipline asks, what will you do today? The dream floats in the air light, effortless, untouchable. Discipline stands on the ground solid, demanding, often uncomfortable. Dreams excite you. Discipline transforms you. Most people fall in love with the dream but walk away from the discipline. They love imagining the finish line but avoid the reality of the race. They want the body but avoid the workout. They want the money but avoid the learning. They want the results but avoid the repetition. Because discipline is not glamorous. It is not dramatic. It is not instantly rewarding. Discipline is showing up on ordinary days, in ordinary moments, doing ordinary tasks that slowly build extraordinary results. Discipline is waking up earlier than your comfort wants. Discipline is working when distractions are louder than motivation. Discipline is saying no to what feels good and yes to what moves you forward. Discipline is being your own leader when no one is watching. This is why discipline is expensive. It requires you, your energy, your consistency, your decision to choose the future over the present moment's temptations. People admire discipline in others but resist it in themselves. They call it too hard, too boring, or too demanding. But discipline doesn't care about your mood, your opinion, or your excuses. Discipline responds only to action. Dreams can be emotional. Discipline is logical. Dreams can be impulsive. Discipline is structured. Dreams can be loud. Discipline is quiet. And in that quiet, you build greatness. You build it when you choose to show up anyway. You build it when you repeat what others give up on. You build it when you train yourself to follow through, not just start strong. Here's the truth. The world doesn't reward dreamers. It rewards disciplined dreamers. Those who take their inspiration and turn it into implementation. Those who let their vision fuel their actions, not just their feelings. A dream without discipline becomes a memory of what could have been. A dream with discipline becomes a life you actually live. People often say things like, I wish I had what they have. They admire someone's success without realizing the price that success required. Because discipline is not always visible from the outside. You don't see the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the closed doors they walked away from, the decisions they made when no applause was present. You only see the results. You don't see the routine. And routines are built on discipline, on doing what needs to be done even when it's not exciting. That's why discipline is powerful. It doesn't depend on emotion, it creates momentum. And momentum creates progress. Dreams can get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Dreams can motivate you for a moment, but discipline builds identity. Dreams can inspire goals, but discipline produces results. Every time you say, I don't feel like it, and you do it anyway, discipline is being strengthened. Every time you choose growth over laziness, discipline expands. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, discipline reshapes who you are. Discipline is not a punishment, it's a privilege. It means you are in control of your life, your habits, your direction. It means you are free from being a prisoner of your impulses. It means you have decided that your future deserves more than your excuses. That is why discipline is expensive. It costs you the old version of yourself. But the reward is priceless. You become someone capable of fulfilling the dream. Dreams are free. Anyone can have them. Discipline is rare. Only the committed choose it. And that's what makes all the difference. One of the great laws of achievement is simple and unavoidable. The price always comes before the reward. You cannot reverse the order. You cannot negotiate the sequence. You cannot demand the prize first and promise to work later. Life doesn't operate on credit. It operates on commitment. And commitment must be demonstrated before blessings are delivered. This principle is so universal that it applies to every area of life: health, wealth, relationships, skills, careers, mindsets. If you want strength, you must train. If you want mastery, you must practice. If you want opportunity, you must prepare. If you want transformation, you must sacrifice. The reward is only released after the effort has been proven. Think of a farmer. He does not ask the soil for a harvest before he plants the seeds. He doesn't demand crops before he waters the fields. He doesn't request abundance before he tills the ground. The farmer knows the timeless rule: the land responds only after the labor. So he works first. He invests first. He shows faith through his action, not his words. Your goals operate the same way. People often look at someone successful and say, they're lucky, but what they don't see is the price that was paid years before the reward appeared. The late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices made when no one cared, no one supported, and no one applauded. They see the outcome, not the investment. They see the results, not the routine. They see the reward, not the receipt. The world is full of people waiting for the result before they take the first step. They say things like, I'll work hard once I'm motivated. I'll study seriously once I get the job. I'll commit fully once I see some progress. I'll be disciplined when life gets easier. But life doesn't give momentum to those who wait. It gives momentum to those who move. Reward is not the cause of effort. Reward is the effect of effort. This is why consistency is such a powerful force. Every day you pay the price. Even in small ways, you send a message to life that says, I'm serious. And life responds. Not instantly, not immediately, but inevitably. Think about building trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise you make to yourself, you strengthen your identity. You prove you can rely on yourself. And that internal trust becomes fuel for your future. But you cannot skip the work and expect the confidence. The price must come first. Think about learning a new skill. At the beginning, you are clumsy, confused, and slow. You feel inadequate. But that is the price. The awkwardness is the price. The repetition is the price. The hours no one sees are the price. And after enough payment has been made, suddenly mastery appears, and others call it talent. Think about financial stability. You don't receive wealth because you hope for it. You receive it because you disciplined your spending, increased your skills, created value, and built habits that support growth. The reward is always the final stage of the process, never the beginning. Even in personal transformation, the rule holds true. You cannot wait for peace before letting go of old pain. You cannot wait for clarity before taking responsibility. You cannot wait for the perfect moment before stepping into the life you want. You must act first. The reward comes after. Many people underestimate how long the price must be paid. They think a few weeks of effort should yield a lifetime of results. But real success requires patience. It requires the ability to continue even when nothing seems to be happening. Most of the transformation happens beneath the surface, just like a seed. It doesn't sprout the moment you plant it. It spends time in the dark, silently developing roots before it emerges. Your goals work the same way. You must trust the unseen. You must pay the price without immediate proof. You must commit without guarantee. And that is what makes the reward so meaningful when it finally arrives. You know you earned it. The price can take many forms. Time when you want comfort. Effort when you want rest. Focus when you want distraction. Sacrifice when you want ease. Patience when you want speed. That's why so few people achieve what they want. The price feels too high, not realizing the reward is infinitely higher. But once you understand this rule deeply, that the price always comes before the reward, you stop resisting the process. You stop complaining about the effort. You stop expecting shortcuts. And you begin to embrace the journey for what it really is, the path that shapes you into the person capable of holding the reward. Pay the price. Do the work. Show your commitment. Because when the time is right, the reward will arrive, and it will arrive in proportion to the price you were willing to pay. In every area of life's success, health, skills, relationships, wealth, there is one principle that separates the achievers from the dreamers, the doers from the talkers, the builders from the wishers. That principle is consistency. It is the currency with which all great achievements are purchased. Not talent, not luck, not inspiration. Consistency. Because nothing meaningful is built in a single day. But anything meaningful can be built through repeated effort. You can have the greatest dream in the world, but if your actions are inconsistent, the dream remains a fantasy. You can have all the passion and enthusiasm, but if you only act when you feel like it, your progress becomes unreliable. Excitement can start the journey, but only consistency finishes it. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. A small effort repeated daily becomes a massive transformation over time. 1 hour of study every day becomes 365 hours in a year, more than many people put in during their entire lives. 20 minutes of exercise each day becomes hundreds of hours of strength. Reading 10 pages a day becomes entire libraries over a decade. Saving a small amount consistently builds wealth where large amounts irregularly disappear. Consistency is not about intensity, it is about continuity. Not about doing everything, but about doing something every day. Not about perfection, but about persistence. Most people fail not because their goals are impossible, but because their habits are inconsistent. They start strong, but they don't stay steady. They get motivated for a week, then disappear for a month. They sprint for a short time, but they never finish the marathon. But here's the truth. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. Success comes from what you do consistently. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Consistency builds confidence. Consistency builds identity. Every time you show up, even in a small way, you reinforce the belief, I am someone who follows through. And that belief becomes fuel for everything else you pursue. Think about water. A single drop does nothing, but repeated drops over time carve through rock. The water is not powerful, the consistency is. Think about the gym. One workout changes nothing, but hundreds of workouts reshape your body and your mindset. The weights aren't magic, the consistency is. Think about skills. You don't become great by practicing once. You become great by practicing repeatedly, refining, correcting, and improving. The talent isn't the difference, the consistency is. But many people sabotage their own progress because they believe that if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. They don't understand that consistency thrives on showing up imperfectly. Doing something imperfectly every day beats doing something perfectly once a month. Consistency also demands discipline because it often feels boring. It removes the drama and replaces it with repetition. And repetition is not glamorous. Repetition doesn't impress people. Repetition doesn't feel exciting. But repetition is what produces mastery. The truth is, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. And habits are built through consistency. There will be days when you don't feel inspired. Days when progress seems invisible. Days when distractions are loud. Days when quitting feels easier than continuing. But consistency speaks a different language. It says show up anyway. Do something today. Keep the chain unbroken. Stay in the game. And each time you do, even in small steps, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. You strengthen your identity. You strengthen your momentum. And momentum becomes your ally once it builds. Consistency also protects you from the greatest enemy of progress, starting over. When you're consistent, even slowly, even imperfectly, you don't lose ground. You stay in motion. And motion leads to results. Think of the sun rising. It does not rise with intensity one day and disappear for weeks. It rises every day. That consistency gives life energy, direction, and rhythm. The same is true for you. Consistency gives your life structure. It gives your goals direction. It gives your journey momentum. When you understand that consistency is the currency of achievement, you stop searching for hacks and shortcuts. You stop depending on motivation alone. You stop expecting quick results. Instead, you focus on daily investment, small steps, small wins, small actions that accumulate into something powerful. The person who shows up daily will always outperform the person who shows up only when they feel inspired. Not because they are more talented, but because they are more reliable. So, ask yourself, what small actions can you commit to every day? What daily habits will bring you closer to your goals? What routine can you build that becomes non-negotiable? Because if you stay consistent long enough, something incredible happens. Success becomes predictable. Not guaranteed, not instant, but predictable. And predictable success is built on predictable effort. Consistency is the currency. Pay it daily, pay it patiently, pay it faithfully. And the achievement slowly, steadily, and inevitably becomes yours.